Okay, so you brought us this text, confession, and wow, it's powerful stuff. Attributed to Prosper of Aquitaine, 5th century. Now, I know confession, it brings to mind, like, a list of I did this wrongs, but this is different.
Yeah, it's really not about checking off sins. It's the imagery, the allegory that grabs you. It's like you're right there with the author in the desert, feeling that yearning for freedom.
Right, and get this, Prosper of Aquitaine, not a saint himself, yet here's this deeply personal confession, often linked to him, makes you wonder what drove him to explore sin and grace so intensely.
It's a great question. And the text, it doesn't shy away from tough stuff. Like right off the bat, born under the law of sin. Imagine that weight. Feeling trapped by something you barely understand.
We've all been there, right? Stuck in a rut, habits we can't break, like this current pulling you under even when you know better.
Exactly. And for the author, feeling trapped,
Yeah.
central to their whole experience. But then, boom, they're freed early in life. Imagine given this amazing freedom before you even felt the chains. It's like, do we even recognize grace when it hits us that young?
It's like being handed a treasure map before you realize you're lost. And that's the core of it, right? Grasping that freedom.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. He uses this metaphor, leaving the father's house, squandering inheritance, bad company. It's prodigal son, but internal. Psychological.
Prodigal son, yeah, we think outward rebellion. But this is about the inner struggle.
Totally. It's less about what he did, more the turmoil driving it. That line, I served not in the subjugation of the body, but in the sweat of the soul. Man, it's universal.
That sweat of the soul, it's like we're hardwired for it. That push and pull, what we should do versus what we're drawn to, speaks across the centuries.
No question. Timeless. And for him, it leads to this profound isolation. He uses Egypt, Babylon, these biblical images of captivity to describe his own inner state.
So even with grace offered, he still feels trapped.
Totally. Aware of Christ's sacrifice, but held back, like caught between knowing freedom and living the struggle.
That tension, that's relatable, right? Understanding grace intellectually versus really living it.
Exactly. And that's where this confession gets really real.
It's like that feeling when you're totally lost, but you can picture that warm house waiting at the end of the road. But you can't seem to move.
And that's what gets me, the honesty. He just lays it out there. Miserable me, ashamed, naked, what face to come before the Father, it's raw.
Totally. Like he's exposed right there in front of God, in front of us. The fear is real. And you mentioned spiritual poverty before. It's not just material, it's that deeper emptiness. Unworthy.
Exactly. It's that human thing,
Yeah.
We've all felt it, messing up, afraid to face the music, that fear of not being good enough.
100%. And getting stuck in that shame spiral, it's so easy. Like you convince yourself, I'm done for, no coming back from this.
Especially now, right? Everything's so fast, so judgmental. Easy to internalize that, believe you are your mistakes.
Constantly bombarded with perfect, but it's all fake. Makes you feel like you'll never measure up.
And here's the thing, here's the hope. He never doubts God's forgiveness. He's like, my Redeemer holds all things, not confined to places. In heaven, he's also in the underworld. Powerful stuff.
So even at rock bottom, totally lost, God's there.
That presence, even in darkness. I don't know, have you ever felt that, like a tiny hope when you're at your lowest?
It's powerful, right? No matter how far you stray, that love's still there. But he doesn't stop there, does he? It's not just God waiting for us to crawl back.
Not at all. He says, let us seek and he will appear. Let us knock and he will open. Let us ask and he will grant. It's on us too.
So not just wallowing in guilt, but actually turning back to that grace, seeking it out.
Yeah. And that's the freedom, that choice. Recognizing those patterns, those Egypts and Babylons we make in our own lives, and choosing something different, something better.
Okay, so how? How do we actually do that? Return to the Father's house, like practically speaking. What does that look like day to day?
The million-dollar question, right? It's different for everyone. But I think got to start with being real with yourself.
Those things we hold on to, habits, relationships, the stuff that keeps us from real joy.
Exactly. See them clearly, no judgment, and then ask, what if I let go? What if I choose differently for the person I want to be?
And that's where the seeking comes in. Looking for that connection, however it works for you. Prayer, nature, helping others.
Yeah, it's all connected. Being aware of that presence, inside and out, and then making choices that reflect it.
Like, we have this compass, this inner GPS, always pointing us back to that love. We just got to trust it, right?
And sometimes you need to get a little lost to realize how precious that guidance is.
Which might be the whole point of the confession, yeah. You can always find your way
as
back.
long as you're willing to take that first step.
This whole confession, it's like structured like a journey,
Yeah.
like those old-time pilgrimages, full of challenges.
Yeah, it's that idea. Redemption, it's not just given to you, it's active. A pilgrimage of the heart.
And like those pilgrimages, it's not easy. There's going to be wrong turns, doubts. Makes you think, what was tripping this guy up on his own journey?
And even more, what if those tough parts, the stumbles, what if they're what make the journey? Think about it. If we never messed up, would we even value grace?
Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor, right? Gotta weather the storm to appreciate finding your way back.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about this confession. It's real, you know?
Sure.
Being human is messy,
We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna carry that guilt, that shame.
but we don't have to stay stuck. There's always a way back, always a chance to start fresh.
It's hopeful,
Mm.
especially these days where it's so easy to judge, to write people off. This text, it's like a whisper of, it's okay, you're not alone.
We're all in it together. Different paths, but that grace, that love, it's there, ready when you are.
That line hits me. He does not need to be reached by journeying or sought by sailing. It's like wherever you are, that connection's open.
And that's freeing, right? You don't
Yep.
have to have it all together to be worthy.
Just got to turn around,
Mhm.
take that first step back.
And remember, we've got that grace inside us too. You
Yeah.
know, that same love, that same capacity to change, that's what fueled this confession way back then. It's timeless.
Absolutely. So as we wrap this up, I keep thinking, those Egypts, those Babylons, we all have them, right? What are those things holding U.S. back from really being free?
It's the journey of a lifetime figuring that out.
No doubt. And hey, maybe we all have a confession inside us too, just waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep seeking, keep asking, keep knocking. You might be amazed at what you find.